I want to shift gears now and move over to our Muni moment, where we're going to focus on what's taking place in Baltimore. The costs and funding sources for rebuilding the Francis Scott Key Bridge are uncertain, and that has prompted Moody's, the ratings company, to downgrade the state transportation agency's outlook. I'm pleased to say joining us now is Cintia Nazima. She is Global Project and Infrastructure Finance Analyst over at Moody's. Cintia, good to speak with you. When Moody's downgraded the outlook for Maryland State Authority to negative, does that mean the next step is necessarily to cut the rating, or are the odds just as high that you could upgrade the rating?
Good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Scarlett and Romaine. So yes, following the tragic Key Bridge collapse, Moody's ratings revised Maryland Transportation Authority outlook to negative from stable. And that's mainly given the fact that the uncertainties from the Key Bridge replacement project, cost, timing, and funding coming together at the same time that MDTA is moving forward with a large $3 billion capital improvement program, resulted in additional pressure to the rating. So it's really a combination of these two aspects that resulted in the negative outlook. But of note, at the same time, we affirmed MDTA's rating at a AA2 level, which is among the highest rated toll roads in our portfolio, not only in the U.S., but on a global basis.
Yeah, one thing that caught my attention is that the MDTA has a history of exceeding its forecasts. Is it unusual for a state transportation authority to do so? And I ask because we live in New York, where the local MTA, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, never apparently seems to have enough money and seems to always be overspending.
So when it comes to our view of MDTA's financial management, we do give a lot of value to it, and we believe they do have a very good track record, especially if we compare to peers, when it comes to keeping very strong credit metrics and also being able to deal with its capital improvement projects, right? So it even concluded a large capital improvement project in 2022 with its project under budget and on time. So that's something that is part of our analysis, and we do give a lot of value to its management if compared to peers.
How much do the larger or broader economic conditions also factor into that, Cintia?
So when it comes to broader economic factors here, for MDTA, that's actually one of their strengths, because all of their assets are located throughout the state of Maryland. So that diversity is something that supports MDTA's current position. And it also offsets a bit of the risk of having Key Bridge down. And that's why it represents only, and that's because it represents only 7% of its total revenues. And the rest is coming from a diverse base of assets located throughout the state, which is in very good and well positioned. So that's one of the things that actually offset the risk that we see from this collapse.
So most of the assessments, then, particularly when we're talking about these particular agencies, they do still end up being a little bit contained locally here. You don't have as much concern about federal conditions, federal spending, and what feeds into that.
Yes, at this time, when it comes to federal considerations, right, I think that we cannot avoid mentioning the funding for the federal funding for the Key Bridge replacement. So that's something that we'll be monitoring, and that's part of our negative outlook here because of that uncertainty when it comes to that funding. So that federal aspect comes into play with that aspect of the funding for the project.